By and large, people would agree that STEM education is important for the nation. It's just how we get there, whether it's additional money. There's been concern about lots of programs, not a lot of evidence on efficacy. So there is an effort by the agencies to do a better job documenting their successes. I don't typically get a lot of pushback when I talk to policymakers and their staff primarily about engineering education, although some will question, where are the teachers? Are they certified for engineering? Where do they come from? And so that is sort of a systemic thing that states and colleges of education have yet to really fulfill that promise for engineering in every school. So I think they're a little concerned about mandating it for every state because they're not sure where the teachers would come from. But folks like your membership at the schools of engineering, science centers, and technology centers are doing a lot of teacher professional development. There's an entire organization called the International Technology and Engineering Education Association that produces teachers to teach technology and engineering related courses, as there is a Computer Science Teachers Association. Constituents and grassroots and grass tops makes a lot of difference to members of Congress. It's easy for them to say, this is what's happening in our state, this is the service that I'm providing, I see that there's a dearth of professional development for teachers, they're afraid of engineering. So, these are the outreach programs we have for both students and teachers and parents. So it's important that members of Congress that may not have an engineering degree or any STEM interests, that they know what's happening in their state with respect to STEM education. Communicating with legislators, it's a process, and I would say start with their staff. They all have staff dedicated to a variety of issues. So you want to ask for the staff person that handles education or science education or STEM education. And that person may handle K-12 issues, higher ed issues, workforce development issues, pension and labor issues. So, they don't necessarily know all there is to know about educational issues. So it's important that they learn from their constituents because they have been awarded through this position a portfolio of issues that are important to the legislator. So that's really the person you want to build that relationship with, and they're the ones that are going to digest sort of all the data that you've given them and make the pitch to the boss. And if the boss is already, supportive, and you can tell by their work, it's not unlikely that they would either co-sponsor your legislation or introduce legislation or an amendment that might benefit the field. And you can do that at home. You can do that in the district or in the state. Each legislator has a local office, and every senator has 2 or 3 offices depending on the size of the state. So you might meet with staff in the local office to start that relationship. If you're in Washington for a business meeting or conference or a PI update, or you can go to the Hill and develop a relationship with the DC staff that work on education issues. Make sure you're keeping them up to speed, at least once a quarter. What's going on with your institution? What are the milestones, enrollments, things that you might want to share with them? Are you hosting a competition that they might want to keynote a presentation at? And of course, the old-fashioned phone. Staffers will take phone calls, record phone calls, return phone calls, but be prepared to leave a detailed message because typically they are meeting with constituents all day long. And we'll reserve a part of their day to returning phone calls. For an association, it's like really getting the word out, letting them know about the legislation that's out there that can affect either negatively or positively their profession, their interests, their field of study, or their field of education, and then let them know, what's the best way to do that. So you can, give them sort of talking points, some data is always good, but it's also good if they can bring local data or state-based data to the conversation, because you always want to make it local.